It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood, from coast to coast, and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. For 4 years, Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life has been bringing you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. In September 1993, Jim Abbott took the mound at Yankee Stadium and threw one of the most dramatic no-hitter games in Major League Baseball history. That game was a high point in an unbelievable success story. Jim was born without a right hand, but that didn't stop him from fulfilling his dream of becoming an athlete. He was a two-sport standout in high school and a pitcher for the University of Michigan. Jim won the gold medal game at the 1988 Olympics, and without spending a day in the minor leagues, joined the starting rotation for the California Angels. Jim is a motivational speaker and author of the new book, Imperfect, An Improbable Life. Hey, Jim, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Joan. I appreciate you having me here.
You know, Jim, I have to thank you. I have the opportunity to interview really amazing people, but your interview got me a high five from my two sons. So thanks for that, finally.
Well, that's a good start. We'll see if they agree after it's over.
Oh, Jim, I live with baseball fanatics. There's nothing you can say that they won't agree with. And along those lines, as I said, I have two boys that are baseball fans, and you know, you guys are role models to them. And growing up, you wanted to be an athlete. You went on to be a professional athlete. You wanted to be a pitcher. You pitched a no-hitter. When you were achieving these goals, was it ever in the back of your mind that you were setting an example for others, maybe kids that were facing similar type challenges, and that you were a role model for them?
It wasn't until I got to the major leagues that I really started to understand the impact of being a major league pitcher and being in the spotlight and being different. I was born missing my right hand, and I really spent the first part of my life, fighting back against that in quiet ways, out on a baseball field and on, in athletics and all the things that I was doing. And early in my life, I was just doing what I love to do and trying to find my sense of purpose and my identity. And when I got to the major leagues, of course, there's a lot of attention, a lot of media attention on each player, and because I was different, I received even more than the normal attention, and I started to see the effect that could have with families and parents and kids that started coming to the ballparks in every city that we played in, and it was a really interesting facet of my career and very, very motivating and very inspiring.
Jim, going back to your childhood for a moment, why a baseball pitcher? I mean, someone might say, why not run track or something that maybe was less of a challenge to you. Do you think that was a mindful decision on your part?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I could have done a lot of things to use my hands quite as much, but I loved it. I loved baseball, and there was no conscious decision about where it might lead. It was just doing what the other kids did, getting in the game, getting involved. All the other kids in my neighborhood played baseball, so I wanted to play too. Were
your coaches receptive to you back then?
Incredibly receptive. And I didn't really realize how lucky I was by, I had so many coaches who not only were receptive but encouraging. They, when I came to a tryout, I felt the loneliness of expectations and wanting to prove myself, and so many times there was a coach there who was not only receptive to my playing, but they pulled me into the game and said, listen, we'll figure out a way to get this done. And I was so fortunate in that. I get cards and letters to this day from parents, moms and dads and kids who, sadly don't have the same type of encouragement in their sporting world. So I try to use the small forum that I have to encourage people to look at people for what the possibilities that they have instead of what they can't do.
Jim, you write in your book that you hid your disability in your right front pocket. When did you finally stop feeling the need to do that?
I don't know, Joan. I guess there are times in my life where I still do that. It's a lifelong journey. There are times, and talk about this a little bit in the book, where, being born missing my right hand, I don't even think about it. I'll go weeks at a time where I don't even, it's not something that is part of my daily life, and yet, there's other days where I may be in a new situation. I may go to my daughter's classrooms, or I may be at a place where there is some awkwardness, and then it is part of my life again. So it kind of stops and starts. I don't think that you reach this point. At least I haven't reached this point where you totally say, this is something I'm completely comfortable with. I think it's always sort of there.
Well, and I think that's a wonderful point, because so many of our listeners that are dealing with various types of challenges in their lives, they may think that you're healed and it goes away and you move on. And, look at Jim Abbott. He's this incredibly successful baseball player, and, he got past it. And as you're saying, you have moments where you push it aside, but it's always there. And I want our listeners to understand that, it's an everyday battle where you feel good some days it comes back, but that doesn't mean you can't keep moving forward.
I think that's right. It comes and it goes, and that's not. And I think you try to find peace with the times when it does sneak into your life, when those you get that awkward second glance walking down a street. There's some reminder of the fact that you're different. Just being aware of those things, you're able to take some of the power away from it. When you're a kid, you're more susceptible to those types of influences, and as you get older, I think we build up a stronger filter, and we're able to, if not completely move past those feelings, take control of them, be aware of them, and use them to our advantage.
Jim, I get the opportunity to interview a lot of people who have really overcome some tremendous obstacles, and often they attribute a good portion of their success to their parents. And you've said that your parents saw your condition not as a disability, but as an extraordinary opportunity. So for parents that might be listening right now who are raising children with different types of obstacles, what should these parents be telling their children, and what impact does their example have on their child?
Well, my parents were my heroes, and they serve as a great inspiration to me now that I'm a parent myself. I have two daughters, and I think the greatest gift that my parents gave me was the idea that my hand was something to be lived up to, and it was a responsibility almost. My dad used to say to me all the time, Jim, what's taken away once is given back twice, and I think he meant that you need to focus on what you have instead of what's been taken away. And I definitely remember a turning point in my upbringing when that became the focus for my parents, that yes, I was born missing a right hand, but so much more was given to me. I had athleticism, I had other talents that would allow me to live up to that. It was something, they treated me as though, I don't really like the word special, mm-hmm. But they made me feel special without treating me special, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I love his words, taken away once is given back twice. Those are really incredible words to remember, because that's something that we definitely forget when we just focus on what we don't have or what's missing in our lives.
Yeah, and that was something that was passed down to him from his mom.
Jim, your career got off to a slow start. What were some of the adjustments that you needed to make to turn it around in the majors?
It's an incredibly competitive environment at the major league level. I was very young when I got there. I was just 21 years old, and I had a pretty incredible amateur career in the fact that I was at the right place at the right time in a lot of ways. I went to the University of Michigan and played there, and then I played in the Olympics in 1988, and we won a gold medal, and then all of a sudden I made a major league team. So I didn't have a lot of professional experience, and the key was, you talk about attitude, the key for me was to get up on a mound in a major league stadium against major league players and feel as though I belonged. I had a tendency to give the other guys so much credit. I would be looking at a Cal Ripken or a Ken Griffey Jr. and I would think about how good they were instead of remembering what it was that I brought to the table and remembering my strengths. And so that was the adjustment that I had to make, just understanding what it was that gave me the ability to be out there in the first place.
Well, and going on and pitching a no-hitter with one of the greatest baseball teams, the New York Yankees. Can you describe what that day was like? Was that the greatest day of your career?
It was a great moment, that's for sure. It probably was the greatest day of my career, although it may not have been the best game I ever pitched, to be honest. There's a certain amount of luck that's involved in a no-hitter, but I never really realized how much your life can change in just a couple of hours, I guess in a good and a bad way. On that day, it was in a great way. There was a lot of anxiousness and uncertainty that went into the beginning of that game. I hadn't been pitching all that well leading up to it, and we were right in the middle of a pennant race. The Yankees were really starting to come back into prominence, after being down for a few years. So there was excitement and tension and anxiousness, and then all of a sudden this game starts, and they don't have any hits, and there's an excitement in the stadium that's building up with the fans and your teammates and the opponents, and it becomes this countdown of out. You get down to that last out when you only have one more to get, and the fans are standing up and literally jumping up and down, and you can feel it with every nerve in your body. That next pitch might make leave a mark for really your whole career. And there it is, a ground ball, the shortstop, Randy Velarde fields it, throws it to Donnie Mattingly, and you have a moment that really changes your life. And to me, that game is just symbolic of yes, we all face tension and anxiety and nervousness, but amazing things can come out of that.
And you just described probably looking back at that moment, but do you recall what you were thinking while you were on the mound?
I remember hopefulness, and I remember literally the physical feelings of feeling your heartbeat and feeling that shakiness in your legs, that excitement of the moment, but I felt great. I felt confident and I excited and a little bit of letting go to the baseball god, so to speak. Just the only thing I could really control was the pitch that I threw and the place that I threw it to, and after that, things kind of have to go your way. And I remember with all of the excitement and tension involved, a little bit of letting go and acceptance of what was to come next.
In addition to being an author of the new book, Imperfect and Improbable Life, you're a motivational speaker. Have you ever thought that perhaps you experienced everything that you have in life to be given this very public platform and go out and change so many lives?
I don't know that I believe that, but the thought has crossed my mind. Only because my dad believed that in some ways, and I don't know that I share his faith in that, but I do think there's an interesting narrative in my career, and I played in some of the greatest places, for really kind of coincidental reasons. I played on the West Coast, and I played on the East Coast with the Yankees and teams that everybody had heard of and watched and knew of, and I had this great moment, and then I had this difficulty, and I had this struggle, and in professional struggle in my career later on, and in some ways, those are experiences that I think a lot of people can relate to. I don't know that I love the label of motivational speaker, but I do really, really enjoy the fact that audiences that I get a chance to talk to get inspiration and motivation from these experiences that my career had. It doesn't take a lot for me to drum that up, to find resonance and to find things that people can connect with.
Jim, I really want to thank you for spending time with us today. Personally, I don't believe in coincidences. I think that everything in your life brought you to this point, and I think you have a very public platform, and I'm so happy that you are using it to inspire people that are going through different challenges in their lives, and I'm so honored that you shared some time with us today, so thank you.
Well, it was a real treat for me, and I thank you, Joan, and good luck with passing on a positive message.
We'll be right back. Today's guest, the renowned Dr. Bernie Siegel, has touched many lives over many years. A practicing physician and pediatric surgeon, Bernie reached national and then international attention when he began talking about patient empowerment. He continues to break new ground in the field of healing, supporting changes in medical education to humanize medical practice. Hi, Bernie. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Joan.
Bernie, you were one of the people who started talking about the connection, the important connection between mind, body, and healing. And, that wasn't a very popular way to think back then. And I'm not really sure it is today, to be honest with you. I mean, we've come a long way, but I'm not really sure that we're close to where we should be.
Yeah, we're still struggling.
Well, how important is the mind-body-spirit connection to our well-being?
They are one. I began to ask people what happened last year or two in your life. And I was criticized for blaming patients as to why they got sick. But what you have to understand is, if you have a loss, if you're feeling lonely, those are things that change your body chemistry. Or like fear. If you're walking in the woods, think you see a snake or a wolf, you may turn and run faster than you've ever run before or climb a tree. But if you live in fear, it becomes destructive because of the internal environment created, which depletes immune function, raises stress hormone levels. So your body is trying to stay alive, but it loses its ability to heal and grow.
Bernie, isn't it when we have a particular attitude and a mindset, and as you said, it changes the chemistry, and doesn't it affect us all the way down to our genetic composition? Don't we have the ability to change genetically as well?
Yes, that the genes don't make the decisions. I always say it's like walking into a room, the light doesn't necessarily go on, but if you flip the switch or a motion detector knows you're there, okay, a light will go on, but it's getting a message. And the same thing with the genes. When you have identical twins, they don't get sick the same week of their lives. It's what's going on in their life that can initiate a genetic change. And that, on the negative side is internalizing anger, not expressing feelings, trying to please other people, being submissive. Then you are telling your body, I don't like life. Well, Monday mornings, probably the best example of all. We have more heart attacks, strokes, suicides, and illnesses on Monday morning. Now you'd say, is Monday a problem? No, but what people are thinking and feeling on Monday is the problem, and so their body responds to that. You have to realize, as I say, we are a unit, and one cannot separate the mind and the body and the spirit. See, and that's the part that's kept me doing this for many decades. People who are supposed to die and don't. They always have a story, and that's the crazy part of medicine. You're doing very well, and the doctor's surprised and says, whatever you're doing, keep it up. What the doctor should say is, you're doing very well. What are you doing? Tell me. I want to pass it on to other patients. So I learned that you can learn from success. There's survival behavior. But basically, as I say, they always had a story about how when you accept your mortality and start doing what makes you happy, your body gets the message. Instead of being dead in 2 months, you may be walking around 5.5 years later.
What can we as patients do to ensure that we get the best treatment or the best healing for our needs?
Well, two things. One is always ask the doctor, are you criticized by patients, nurses, and family? And what do you think the best doctors say?
Probably yes.
Yeah. They're learning from their experience, you see. They haven't been a patient. And I used to think I was a horrible doctor because the nurses and the patients and, were always telling me things that I should be doing. And I said to one of the nurses, I must be, a mess. Everybody's telling me what to do. And she said, no, you're not. We know you care. That's why we tell you. You don't make excuses, and you learn. And so then it became a compliment. So I'd say look for doctors who are criticized and accept it and don't make excuses. The other is that you have to be what I call a respondent, not a patient. Be a responsible participant in your care. See, that's the survival behavior. The word patient is derived from submissive sufferer. So if you are submissive and put up with everything, you're more likely to die in a hospital from a medical error because they think you're somebody else. But if the person becomes a character, see, and I always remember this when I was in training, that the patients who drove me nuts always seemed to survive and go home. Now, they would be yelling, bellowing, calling you when they needed something. Mm-hmm. And I realized they're breathing. They're taking deep breaths. They don't get pneumonia. While the nice, submissive ones are lying there quietly under the blanket, and all kinds of things would go wrong because they weren't moving. So be a responsible participant. Let them know who you are. You can decorate your room. I always say put your baby picture in your room. So when they say, what a cute kid, say it's me. And caring, in a sense, about yourself and using difficulties. That's probably one of the most important messages. Always ask yourself, what can I learn from what I'm going through? Even when you're going through hell, say, what can I learn from this? And then it helps become your teacher. I always say the way hunger makes you find nourishment, your difficulties can lead you to nourish yourself in your life. So then the trouble, the gift, you see, the curse becomes a gift and a wake-up call.
Bernie, I hate to say that we are out of time. I have enjoyed talking to you. We have to get you back here. There's so much that I would love to talk to you about.
Well, I always say, I love that line, we're almost out of time. Everybody should remember we're here for a limited time and enjoy it.
The holiday season is in full swing, and most of us are probably veering away from our usual eating habits and giving into the temptations of the season. Enjoy, but remember, this season only lasts a few weeks, so don't let it completely sabotage your health. Hi, I'm Carrie Kelly, registered dietitian at the Actor Center for Health and Wellness in Hackensack, New Jersey. There is a delicate balance between enjoying all the treats and traditions of the holiday season while also keeping an eye on our waistlines. The trick is to enjoy everything, but in moderation, and to get back on track as quickly as possible after you stray. This is a season of celebration, not deprivation, so take advantage of all the goodies that are seemingly lurking around every corner. Have those Christmas cookies. Fill your plate with latkes, but pay attention to what you eat. Enjoy every second of the flavor and appreciate the tradition that these foods represent. This is also an important time to make it a priority to keep up your exercise routine. Be purposefully active at least 4 days of the week and make good choices at mealtimes whenever possible. Choose high protein, whole grains, and healthy fat. There is wiggle room in everyone's diet for splurging, and there is no time like the present. But just keep it all in perspective and always circle back around to good habits. For more information, give me a call at 201-487-4600 or visit us on the web at theactorcenter.com.
Ah, the smell of cookies baking in the oven. One of the great holiday smells in a home. There's nothing like fresh cookies during the holidays. Actually, any time is cookie time, but during the holidays, it's always special. Hi, I'm Chef Todd, here with a few of my cooking tips for baking delicious cookies. While making raisin oatmeal cookies, substitute the raisins with sun-dried cranberries and add a teaspoon of orange zest to create a Cape Cod-style oatmeal cookie. If you're making traditional chocolate chip and walnut Toll House cookies, replace the chocolate chips with butterscotch chips and replace the walnuts with macadamia nuts. This makes a wonderful Maui Hawaiian cookie treat. To keep your cookies soft and pliable, always take them out a little earlier than the actual baking time. Let cookies sit at least 15 minutes on a cooling rack before handling them. To add a little elegant touch to your cookies, frost them and top them with sprinkles. Or try a dusting of confectionery sugar after they cool. For more recipes, go to cookingwithcheftodd.com.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that this information is for educational purposes only and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, take part in the book club, sign up for the mailing list, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.